All right, let's dive right into today's explainer. We're tackling what might just be the absolute ultimate daily challenge, especially if you're, say, around 10 years old. We're looking at a pretty fascinating piece of writing that asks a really huge question. How in the world do you balance all your everyday responsibilities, like your math homework and your daily chores, with your spiritual life? Like, how do you make sure you're doing a genuinely great job at home and at school, but also making time to actually pray and read your Bible? I know, it sounds like a massive puzzle, right? But the source we're looking at argues that finding this sacred balance is literally the secret to living a super amazing, high-energy life.
I mean, just think about your schedule today. You wake up, you rush to get ready for school, you sit through all your classes, maybe you've got sports or music practice after, and then you come home to, more homework. Oh, and you can't forget the chores. You've probably got to take out the trash, feed the dog, or finally clean that room of yours. It is so incredibly easy to get completely wrapped up in all these tasks, and then, before you even realize it, it's bedtime, and it hits you. You totally ran out of time for God. You were just, way too busy.
But hold on, let's look at the complete opposite side. Do you ever have those days where you just want to sink deep into the couch cushions and do absolutely nothing? Like zero effort? It's honestly just as tempting to be an idler, someone who avoids diligent work entirely. Maybe you just want to spend your entire Saturday playing video games, watching TV, just dodging anything that looks like hard work. Well, our source text points out that this is actually the second big trap we can fall into. Both of these extremes, doing way too much or doing way too little, they both have some pretty major consequences.
So let's explore that first extreme we just talked about. We'll call this trap 1, the overworker. The text says that when we let our daily tasks totally take over, people become completely absorbed in worldly business. They, and I quote, tax brain, bone, and muscle to the uttermost. Basically, that means you're totally exhausting yourself physically and mentally. You pile on so many burdens and massive to-do lists that you actually end up forgetting God. And because you're only exercising your physical powers with all this nonstop activity, your spiritual powers, they aren't getting any workout at all. So you end up on the losing side spiritually, growing poorer and poorer in what the author calls heavenly riches.
So you're probably wondering, what exactly are heavenly riches? Well, it's the spiritual grace, the peace, and that inner strength that we get directly from spending time with God. The author makes an absolutely crucial point here. Doing your chores and finishing your homework, that's great. It's necessary. But the danger creeps in when it completely crowds out the time you need to serve the Lord. If you're only building your physical and mental muscles, the text argues that your spiritual muscles are quite literally going to shrink.
Which brings us right to the exact opposite end of the spectrum. Trap 2, the couch potato.
Now, the source warns us that indolent people, which is just a fancy word for lazy people, they meet with a total loss as well. These are folks who spend all their energy only on pleasing themselves, and the source uses this really striking, vivid phrase here. It warns that lazy people let their muscles rust with inaction. Seriously, imagine a bicycle left out in the rain that gets so completely rusty the wheels won't even spin. That is exactly what happens to our bodies and minds when we do nothing. By wasting these opportunities through pure inaction, they completely fail to glorify God.
So if we compare these two extremes, it looks a bit like this. Overworkers totally exhaust their bodies but completely neglect their souls. Meanwhile, our couch potatoes waste their opportunities entirely and basically let themselves rust. The text argues that both of these are major traps. Why? Because the Lord desires diligent workers in His vineyard. Essentially, He doesn't want someone whose brain and muscles turn to absolute mush from doing nothing, but He also really doesn't want people running around so frantically that they completely forget to stop and pray.
Okay, so how in the world do we avoid both of these traps? Well, the source gives us a brilliant answer in our next section, the secret formula.
And this verse is really our ultimate anchor for the perfect daily routine. It's Romans chapter 12, verse 11. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord. The author uses this exact verse to show that God actually demands a combination of things from us. We've got to blend our physical exercise and our daily work with the cultivation of personal piety. Now, personal piety is really just an old-school way of saying personal holiness and genuine devotion to God.
What's really amazing is how perfectly this ancient text translates right into your everyday life right now. Not slothful in business simply means, hey, do your chores and do your homework. Don't be lazy about it. Be diligent. Fervent in spirit means that when you pray or read your Bible, you do it with actual energy and excitement. You don't just mumble your prayers because your parents told you to.
And serving the Lord means constantly remembering that God is right there with you in absolutely everything you do, whether you're scrubbing dishes or reading a psalm.
The author also reminds us of something absolutely huge. Our waiting should be filled with vigilant work, not just idle expectation. Because of this, there is something for everyone to do in this world. We aren't supposed to just sit by the window staring up at the clouds, waiting for heaven. But at the exact same time, we aren't supposed to panic and rush around as if we can somehow earn our way to heaven just by working ourselves to the bone. It is all about finding that perfect balance.
Finding this balance really is the ultimate goal. Think of it like this. Your body actually needs physical exercise, like tackling your chores, playing outside, and working hard, just to be strong enough to do the work of the gospel. I mean, you can't really help others if your muscles have rusted shut, right? But your soul absolutely needs the riches of God's grace to stay healthy. So a truly balanced life means carving out a nice slice of the pie for diligent work, a slice for play and rest, and a hugely important, unignorable slice for spiritual devotion. Worldly activities simply cannot be allowed to crowd out your service to the Lord.
All right, let's make this super practical. We're going to wrap up with our final section, your daily action plan, keeping the lamp burning.
Here are your 3 actionable steps for today. Step 1. Act your part in the great work for humanity by actually tackling your chores and your homework today. Be a genuinely diligent worker. Step 2. Purposely carve out specific time to pray and read the Bible. Don't just leave it to chance. And step 3. Keep the lamp of your soul trimmed and burning. See, back in the old days, oil lamps had wicks that actually needed to be trimmed or cut so they would burn bright and clear instead of getting all smoky and dim. Well, doing your daily prayer and reading, that is exactly how you trim the lamp of your soul so your light shines super bright for everyone to see. The source sums this whole thing up just beautifully. It says, "The allotted task may be done, and the lamp of the soul kept trimmed and burning." This is proof right from the text that you absolutely do not have to choose between being responsible and being faithful. It is definitely not an either-or situation. It strongly suggests that you can absolutely crush that math test, have a spotless room, and have a vibrant, super exciting relationship with God.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a question to chew on. Based on the secret formula we just learned, what is one chore you can totally crush today without even complaining? And what is one moment you can intentionally carve out to give completely to God in prayer or reading? The source challenges all of us to build up both our physical and our spiritual muscles, making absolutely sure our inner lamp keeps burning bright. You've got this.